Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we are going to dive into the science of influence. And, get this, it turns out a lot of what we think we know about changing people's minds, it's just plain wrong.
You've been there, right? You've got all your facts lined up, your logic is airtight, you've got the perfect argument, and it just falls flat. The other person doesn't budge an inch. It's so frustrating. So what's going on here? Well, it turns out our go-to strategies for persuading people, they're often, well, completely useless. And it's not that your facts are wrong, it's that your whole approach, it just doesn't work with the way the human brain is wired.
All right, so let's jump right in and bust the biggest myth of them all. This idea that data changes minds. You know the thinking, if I just show them the numbers, the cold, hard facts, they'll have to get it, right?
And this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. We like to think we're these rational beings, but we're not. At our core, we're driven by our hopes, our fears, our desires. Those are what shape our beliefs. The data, oftentimes we're just using that to back up what we already feel deep down.
Okay, so what do you think happens when you hit someone with rock-solid evidence that completely contradicts something they really believe in? You think, logically, they'd pause and maybe reconsider, but nope, the brain does something, well, something kind of strange.
It's called the boomerang effect. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You throw facts at them and their original belief comes flying right back, only stronger. The very act of having to defend their position actually forces them to come up with new reasons to believe it, strengthening their resolve. It's wild.
And this is a huge reason why the internet can actually make us more divided, not less. Think about it. With a few clicks, you can find evidence for anything you want to believe. It turns us all into pros at confirmation bias. We just find stuff that agrees with us, and it makes us dig our heels in even deeper. We get more stuck in our ways, not less.
Okay, so if data isn't the magic bullet, then what is? It all comes down to one thing: emotion. See, numbers and facts can be pretty cold and abstract, but feelings are contagious, and they are what really pull the levers on our decisions.
It's pretty incredible, actually. When we feel the same emotion as someone else, it's like our brains get on the same wavelength. We start interpreting things in a similar way. It creates this common ground, this shared reality, before you've even gotten to the facts.
And how does this happen? Through something called unconscious mimicry, which is just a fancy way of saying we're all natural copycats. You know how you yawn when someone else yawns? It's like that, but for everything. We automatically, without even thinking about it, copy people's facial expressions, their tone of voice. If you see someone look scared, your brain fires up its own fear circuits. You literally start to feel what they're feeling. And that connection, that's a powerful pathway for influence.
Now here's where it gets really interesting in our modern world. Our technology has figured out how to hijack this whole system. Just look at this number. Studies found that just the act of tweeting or retweeting can spike emotional arousal in the brain by 75%. That's huge. It's way more than just passively browsing. Our online world isn't just a place for information, it's a massive emotion machine.
And all of this taps into a really basic human instinct, the law of approach and avoidance. It's simple, really. We are hardwired to run towards things that give us immediate pleasure and run away from things that cause us pain. But here's the catch. The pleasure has to be now, and the pain has to be now. That's why a vague warning about something bad happening way down the road, it just doesn't motivate us nearly as much as a small, instant reward right in front of our faces.
Okay, so this leads us to a really fascinating kind of counterintuitive idea, the paradox of control. You know, our gut instinct when we want to persuade someone is to push, to argue, to take charge. But, as it turns out, that's often the worst thing you can do.
See, we are all wired with this deep, fundamental need for what's called agency. It's that feeling of being in the driver's seat of our own lives, of making our own choices. And the second we feel like that's being taken away from us, we push back hard. It doesn't even matter how great the other person's idea is, we just resist.
So, here's the secret. The real key to influence isn't about grabbing control. It's about giving it away. When you give someone a sense of agency, a choice in the matter, it's incredibly persuasive. Just the act of choosing feels good to our brains. It's rewarding in itself. And when we choose something ourselves, we become so much more invested in it.
All right, that brings us to our final, and maybe my favorite tool in the persuasion toolkit. It's elegant, it's powerful, and it's all about curiosity. The best part? It doesn't push people, it pulls them in.
Our brains absolutely hate a vacuum. When there's a gap between what we know and what we want to know, it creates this mental itch. It's this nagging feeling of discomfort, and we are powerfully motivated to scratch it. We will actively go looking for the information that fills that gap because it feels so darn satisfying.
I mean, think about the most obvious and, yeah, sometimes annoying example. Clickbait, right? Those headlines like, "The one thing you should never eat for breakfast," or "You won't believe what this celebrity looks like now." They work because they create a knowledge gap you didn't even know you had a second ago. And suddenly, you just have to know. You have to click. Now imagine using that same powerful pull from messages that actually matter.
So, if you remember one thing about this, let it be this. To really influence someone, stop leading with the information. Stop pushing your answer on them. Instead, start by pointing out a gap in their knowledge. Make them curious, create that itch, and then they'll come to you asking for the scratch.
So there you have it. Emotion, agency, curiosity. It's a completely different way of thinking about influence. But look, these tools they're really powerful. So the big question we're left with isn't just about how to use them. It's about using them for the right reasons. How will you use them to influence for the better?